boy. Okay. So so I started up the wrong stream. I fired up the stream that I had scheduled for Thursday instead of the one I had for today. So good job, Warren. Jeez. What the hell? Anyway, give me a second here. Welcome. I'm going to I'm just gonna head on over here to the live here and the live section, and then we're gonna do we're gonna change the start date on this one. We're gonna change the start date on this one. We'll put it on the 30th. There we go. What a disaster. Great start. Excellent work, Warren. Thank you, Warren. I mean, you know, the important thing is that I'm here, right? The important thing is that I'm here, despite the fact that I, you know, messed up on the exact stream that I had scheduled. I wonder if this means that nobody's gonna come now. Oh, what a fucking disaster. I don't know why. Well, no, I know why. I'm not gonna pretend I don't know why. And I can't blame the software. I can't do any of that. It's my fault. I just, you know, came in. I had I was out doing a thing. That's why I started a little early, a little later tonight. Sorry, excuse me. At the 8 p.m. start time instead of the usual 7:30. And I took the dog out, came back in. Okay, I'll just fire it up. And I just took the first stream at the top, right? Just boop. Just went with that one. Boop. Not realizing that the one at the top is the later one. See, the logic, I mean, I guess we could blame YouTube a little bit here. Because the logic would dictate that on your list of upcoming streams, the one at the top would technically be the next one, right? It would be the sooner one, as opposed to, you know, and then the others would be further down the line, right? Doesn't that make sense? And I don't even have my ring on. Don't tell Kristen. I took it off because I was manipulating raw ground beef. And then I take the ring off because I don't want to get it contaminated. It's gross, you know. I don't want my ring to get like gross. So I take it off and I put it on the counter. Like, I know where it is. I could go get it. I won't. This is already disastrous. This is already a disastrous start to the week. How's everybody doing? I'm Warren, by the way. This is the Mr. Warren Hayes Show stream on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, and we talk about pro wrestling here. That's what we do. We hop on, we talk for a couple of hours about the comings and goings of ye old pro res, and it's a good time. It's an exciting time, and I hope you're excited for a good time. I want to deliver unto you a good time. I got a nice gift here today to talk about tonight, courtesy of Nicholas Kahn. I almost feel like I should send him like a gift basket for Christmas. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. You're just the gift that keeps on giving. Look, I'm not going to lie. It's going to be another WWE news heavy show again tonight. Kind of like it was Friday. I mean, that's essentially pretty much all we talked about. Maybe just a drizzle of New Japan. Yeah, you know, and isn't it interesting, right? Isn't it interesting that these days we don't get a lot of, backstage news and links and things coming forward. Leaks coming forward from the AEW locker room. It's almost as if the morale there is really good. Because, look, I can't tell you guys and gals and non-binary pals enough. It will always be when things get leaked. It's always because the people who do the leaking are upset or have an agenda. They have something to get across. That's very, very often what it is. What? My dog just comes in and barking. What? What is it? She barks at nothing now. I'm still on the house is haunted arc. What do you see? What do you see? There's nothing. There's nothing. Juno, there's nothing, darling. Weirdo. Anyway, hope y'all had a lovely weekend. I did. I had a lovely, very relaxing, very zen type of weekend. Just took it very easy. Went to visit Mama Hayes at the hospital. That's the update. Yep, she's still in hospital. We're just waiting for the cure. Not waiting for the cure. We're waiting for a queue, a space to open up, basically. In the rehabilitation home that they want to send her to before sending her back home. So we're just waiting on that part for her to move to that spot, and yeah, we're just waiting for a spot to open up. That's all there is to it. So she's been there for 3 weeks now. She's a little antsy, but she's in very good spirits. So that's going well. So did that, and took it like very, very nice and easy. Saw some friends, and then watched movies with Kristen, which is what we typically do. I watched The Call, which is a Korean, was it Korean movie? I think it was Korean. A Korean movie. Had a nice little twist. Had a fun little twist. A very interesting premise that I thought was really well executed and was fun. I enjoyed it. And Shelby Oaks also is something I watched this weekend. And I cannot say that Shelby Oaks was an entertaining time. I mean, look, it's a first-time director doing this. There were some, I'll give them props for what they did, but it's not a great film overall. It's very it just comes apart at the seams when you start thinking about it too much, and then you're like, why am I thinking about this too much? Why am I thinking about this at all? I would not recommend. The Call, though, the Korean film, absolutely would recommend. So there you go. And it's been beautiful. Beautiful fucking weather. Long walks with the Juno. Was like 68 degrees here, Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius today. Wasn't exactly like a stimulating time to hunker down and work when you're just like, oh man, it is so gorgeous outside type of thing. You know how that goes, right? You know how that goes, and you know how that goes. And here I am now tonight on the wrong stream doing the Mr. Warren Hayes show thing. So, what are we doing here tonight? Well, first of all, we're going to say hello to the kind, gentle folks who are joining us here this evening, such as William Davis. How you doing, Will? Welcome to the channel. Also member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel as well. It is a pleasure to have you. DJ Convoy also here as well. Also a member. Hello, Convoy. Say hello to the missus for me. Ooh, look at this. It's Mr. Antox is here. How you doing? And welcome. Can you believe how the dumbasses are attracted to Dave again because he dared to say Hulk Hogan jumping from AAA to WWF didn't save the wrestling business? I mean... These fucking hypotheticals too, you know? These incredible hypotheticals. You know, if everything, here's the basic here's the basic premise. If all of these dopes would say, you know, a Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon or whatever, like in this circumstance, you know, didn't save the if they said a Hulk Hogan jumping from AAA to WWF didn't save WWF, then they, or you know, if they brought it down to just like within WWF, all of these great statements about saving pro wrestling, no. Vince destroyed pro wrestling. All that was left was WWF, then sports entertainment. Like that's the thing. Like that's the like, and if people sort of realize that pro wrestling was fine and always was fine before Vince and continued as much as it could to be fine with Vince, everything was okay. Like everything would have been okay. But look, I don't want to get into all of that. But Vince was good for Vince. Vince was good for WWF. He was not good for pro wrestling. He just was not. We went from an era where every weekend night, you know, Friday, Saturday, and even, you know, Sundays and whatnot, every day you could go to any major metropolitan center and you would have pro wrestling shows, like big time drawing pro wrestling shows happening in all these cities and all these states across the US, until Vince showed up and just gobbled it all up and was like, well, no, there's only one game in town. So that's not saving pro wrestling. That's not being good for pro wrestling. That's being good for WWE. But since most of these people who argue with Dave have never watched anything else, don't understand anything else than WWE, then they don't have that kind of perspective. They don't have that kind of critical thinking where you can say, yes, I am critical of the company I enjoy for this reason, but I also enjoy the company for this reason. You know, you don't have to throw up the shields. You know? Meggie O'Cannon, nice to see you, Meggie. Welcome to the chat. Also, Meggie is a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. I do remember the ghost that you found. That's why I'm with one of the topics tonight. I'm being extra careful as to not enrage the ghosts that are here that we found. Obscurity Knox, nice to see you too, pal. Welcome to the chat. Also a member. Thank you. I am doing a good job, aren't I? Good job, me. Oh, brother. Pedro the Fifth. Nice to see you and welcome. Yeah, Para Warren activity. I'm gonna sneak into not sneak. I'm gonna materialize in your I'm gonna materialize in your closet and talk about Triple H for 30 minutes. That's the kind of Para Warren activity everyone's looking forward to. You might just be getting that tonight, folks. You just might get lucky. Who knows? Who knows? I think that's, yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. That's what's going on. Listen, if you're all here hanging out, enjoying the view, why don't you leave a like on the stream here? I would appreciate that tremendously. If you, you know, if you've got partners, buds, close friends, complete and utter strangers on social media that you'd like to share this link with, under the precept that we might be we might be taking a dump on Triple H tonight. Please feel free, go right ahead. It would be my pleasure to impart my wisdom upon many upon all the unwashed masses. So, but I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone once again here in en masse, hanging out here on this lovely Monday here in Quebec City, Quebec, Canada. What else is on the schedule? What else is on the thing? What else is on the news? What else is going on? I did not look. Friday on stream, I said that I'd probably get around to recording a review of West Coast Pro, the Sin City. What do they call it? I don't remember. The Las Vegas show, Sin City something, Sin City Blockade, Sin City Smash. I don't remember what they called it. But I did not get around to it. So I lied. I'm sorry. Because I did have family in town. I had friends coming in from coming in from outside the city as well. So there was just a cavalcade of things happening, and I just didn't get around to it, and I couldn't do it. But listen, if you want to, here's the thing with that show. It was great. It was a great indie show, and I think that the West Coast Pro show, West Coast versus the World is what it was called. West Coast versus the World. I think it is the baseline moving forward for great indie shows. WrestleMania weekend, or WrestleMania week, I guess we should be saying, to begin with, but like even across the board, right? You had some really extremely talented people on the show. You had some really good matchups, some great action. You sprinkle in a couple of surprises, right? And you've got something that, most of the other big drawing companies cannot compete with. How about that? They just can't. Like they're like, as you know, I sat down and watched through the entire Joey Janela's Spring Break live, and and at some point I was looking to peel the flesh off my cheeks because it was unbearable. And again, I still don't know why I stuck through it, other than wanting to see Brody Jr. and Janela. But this one here, the West Coast Pro show, had no issue. Just it flew by. Just some great stuff on it. Just a couple of really great matches. Loved the main event. I thought the main event was great. Of course, Chris Hero and Senka, that one carried the buzz for the show, right? But it lived up to it. And you kind of look at it and you're like, man, why can't we get more Chris Hero? It's not just why can't I get more Chris Hero? Why can't we get more Chris Hero? So that's why. Sorry about that. Once again, I haven't figured out how to do dark mode here. Oh, what the fuck? Come on, man. It's too bright. It's too bright. There we go, like this. And then, better. And then you had a great match with Alphazo and LeBron Cazone that opened up the show, which was awesome. I thought it was great, legitimately great. Adam Priest and Starboy Charlie, I thought, had a good one too. I had a really good tag team match with the Cajun Catch Revival versus Aaron Solo and Alan Angels. That was for the West Coast Pro Tag Team titles. And the main event was Mio Momono versus Johnny Robbie. And it was excellent. It was just excellent. The West Coast Pro Show was absolutely like, this should be like the bare minimum. It's the bare fucking standard, I think. You know, and I look at this and I look at it and I'm like, there is talent out there working on the indies. It's not like we're devoid of talent. It's just the promotions, the presentations of pro wrestling on the independent circuit in general just seem to always want to drag all of this down to like ha-has and wink-winks and, you know. And this was just like a straight-up wrestling show that straight-up wrestling show that I really liked. And, you know, again, it's not as if there's no one out there. It's just the people that are featured, particularly in GCW. There's so many hacks in GCW, folks. I don't know if, like, you know, Atticus Kogar is he's bad. He's a bad pro wrestler, and he is their world champion. Now, how am I supposed to take that seriously? When you say, like, this is the guy who's representing my company, I don't know. Look, moving on to another, it's another topic entirely, but yeah. Anyway, look, I highly suggest you hit up the YouTube, if you haven't already, to watch West Coast Pro versus the World, because it was an excellent show. It was a great show. It was a great pro wrestling show. So you should go out and check that. It comes highly recommended. My favorite matches were the main event, the opener, Alpha Zoe versus LeBron Cazone. I always had a soft spot for LeBron Cazone, in DPW specifically. The Chris Hero match, that's tremendous as well. You know, if you want to see Aja Kong be immobile but just bask in the fact that it's Aja Kong, she's there, you know, but it's not, you know, it's nothing spectacular. Chris Hero and not Chris Hero, but Adam Priest and Starboy Charlie had a good little match. You know, there's something for everyone here. It was good. It was very good. Hey, it's Fred Moreland from the Voices of Wrestling Network's own AEW podcast, The Good, the Bad, the Hungy. How are you, Fred? I am comparing talent. I'm a maverick like that. I will buck the trends. I have no problem doing comparisons. Comparison is the thief of joy, because I steal all the joy from myself. That's why I'm so happy. Hey, Travis, how you doing? What the hell are you doing here? Go on vacation. Never mind us goons. Go enjoy your vacation, but you're still a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, though. Fuck yo mama, nice to see you. Welcome. You know, Chris Hero does the booking for West Coast Pro. Imagine if TK let him get the book on Ring of Honor, we'd be cooking. I mean, that's what a lot of people have sort of been wondering, why Tony doesn't let Chris Hero do it. You know? Rory Starks, nice to see you and welcome. I have been to a dozen or so West Coast Pro shows. They were always a blast. I mean, they're systematically good shows. When it comes to WrestleMania weekend, like this is your floor. This should be the floor. You know what I mean? This should be the floor for everyone else. Again, like, you know, I refuse to 100% dive into the discourse that there's just no good wrestlers working on the indie circuit. I think a lot of them get picked up too quickly. A lot of them are working, let's say, for AEW, and then also show up for these shows. And so, are they really indie talent? You know, all that. But you know, when I see Johnny Robbie go, I'm like, no, you know, she's excellent. You know, she's very, very good. I don't know, you know, see Alpha Zoe, you see LeBron Cazone. Like, all right, these are unsigned. Again, I think it's all the packaging, the presentation, what they do with it. I think that's ultimately the problem. Anyway. You ain't getting that FE match time back. Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't think I legitimately don't think that you fully understand how bad that match was unless you actually do watch it. If you do watch it, I think you get the full gist of, well, you indeed get the full gist of it because you'll have watched it. But unless you do, I don't think you don't have the full concept. You don't have the full Monty in that regard. You just don't. You just don't. However, this man here, he is the full Monty.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling. Hoo-yah!
Hoo-yah! I'm late. I came in super late. I was swallowing some tasty beverage. Patrick, there you are. Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Wrestle Queendom was an eye opener for the amount of for how much outstanding female talent is out there. I mean, yes. I mean, like, yes, 100% yes. Because there is tremendous female talent out there. You know, despite the fact that you know, WWE loves women wrestling according to one of their superstars. That's not even the best place to see women's wrestling. Anyway, thank you for being here tonight, everyone. If you still haven't, you put a like on the stream, and that will bring you luck for the rest of the week. And this is our docket that we've got set up for tonight. It's a beautiful docket, some leftover topics from Friday, and a nice little juicy one that got thrown in today, courtesy of Nick Khan. That will go across. That will fill out nice and proper as well. It was nice and proper. So, before we get started into things related to Nick Khan today, I want to start by talking about the WrestleMania 42 ratings, which were released last week, a few days ago. The ratings for the ESPN simulcast. We'll read this article here from our boy Josh Nason, from Josh Nason's Punch Out over there at the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer website. The first ever WWE WrestleMania on ESPN saw some impressive numbers for the hour-long portions that aired on ESPN's linear networks, in addition to the ESPN Unlimited streaming service. First reported by Front Office Sports, a WWE content partner, Saturday's 1 hour WrestleMania 42 simulcast brought in 1.62 million viewers on ESPN2. The hour featured Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu in an unsanctioned match, as well as LA Knight and the Usos versus Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and IShow Speed in a trios bout. Saturday's hour brought in 1.82 million viewers on ESPN's main channel, with Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi, followed by Lesnar's possible retirement, and the ladder match for the men's Intercontinental title. Front Office Sports also reported that the 1 hour countdown shows did 676,000 viewers for ESPN2 on Saturday, followed by 750,000 for ESPN on Sunday. National competition included both the NBA and NHL playoffs on both nights. No viewership data has been revealed for the full ESPN Unlimited broadcasts, but in WWE's media releasing touting the weekend's overall success, they stated that, quote, WrestleMania Saturday was the most viewed telecast of the year on ESPN2, while WrestleMania Sunday was the most viewed telecast of the entire weekend on ESPN. It was the first WrestleMania as part of ESPN and WWE's 5-year exclusive domestic deal for PLEs that began last September. The network did a slew of coverage leading into the event on key properties such as Sports Center and Get Up, to the point that ESPN aficionados, watchers, were losing their minds. I'm sure some of you who hang out on social media saw the post, or at least the not even a collage, like just the screen cap of all of the posts on the ESPN subreddit of all people just complaining about seeing pro wrestling on ESPN. Listen, as you all know, I am not Mr. Ratings. I don't sit around, I'm not the guy who breaks this down. There are people out there who do a much better job than I do. And you should go to them for some very detailed breakdown of the ratings in and about themselves. But from my cursory knowledge, and, me just watching things from afar, just looking at these numbers here. Is it normal that I'm not surprised? Is it normal that I'm not shocked at the numbers, or I'm in fact that I'm a little, that seems a little low? Or is it just me? Because I look at ESPN2. I look at the ESPN2 rating, right, for the Saturday show. 1.62 million, right? That's a Friday Night SmackDown rating, right? And 1.82 on the Sunday. Well, that's a little higher than what WWE usually lands for SmackDowns on Friday nights, but not mind-boggling, right? Nothing where I'm this is breaking a scale for me. I'm ooh, it's kind of when I see the numbers from the Netflix to-doom side of things, where I look at the numbers, worldwide, and we're doing, of course, yes, excluding the United States, and I get that, and that's even part of the point, and we're getting 2.5 million, 2.7 million. Once in a while, we'll break the 3 million barrier, there was a stretch last year or earlier this year. I don't quite remember. I think it was earlier this year. There was a stretch where there were multiple. It was late last year, but that was, probably because of Stranger Things, that the WWE ratings weren't even showing up. They weren't even charting in the top 10. So I can't help but believe that these are low numbers. I can't help but think that these are not great. They're fine. I don't think anyone is banging their head against the wall and saying this is absolutely terrible, but this is WrestleMania. This is the thing that is supposed to be a cultural phenomenon, that's supposed to be on the same level as the big entertainment shows, it's often the name of the Super Bowl is usually thrown around with WrestleMania, saying, it's the Super Bowl of pro wrestling, It's supposed to be this thing that is attracting the casuals, that this is where the casuals come in, where WrestleMania, oh no, well, it's not designed for us hardcore wrestling fans. No, this is so anyone can hop in and enjoy themselves, right? This is something that I've said multiple times. I just look at these numbers. These were available like live on TV without the app. And I don't know, like, is it curious that that neither night broke 2 million? Is it curious that Brock Lesnar did not break 2 million? Or is it me? Am my expectations just out the door? But like I feel like my analysis is just like extremely surface level, but it makes a lot of sense that if WWE on Friday nights does usually what, like 130, 40, 50,000 viewers, and that they do 162, it's not all that impressive. Not for WrestleMania, which is supposed to be the big deal. So I have trouble wrapping my head around it. And then let's say we go to the front office sports. This links to the. So it's not the article. I thought we were going to the article. As you could tell, I did not. I didn't think we were going to go to a tweet. But front office sports, which of course gets this data delivered to them from WWE, because, good on Josh to have pointed out that Front Office Sports is a WWE content partner. We talked about this a few weeks ago when this news landed. They got these numbers directly from the WWE office. And so the discourse that happened over the following couple of days was, oh, well, this doesn't include the unlimited numbers, right? It doesn't include the people who were streaming this. It's just really the people who were watching it on TV. And I can't help but wonder. I really can't help but wonder how that can be possible. Why would WWE, why would World Wrestling Entertainment, the people who will find every excuse to say we are the best, we are the first, we are the premier, whatever, right? Always use those types of turns of phrases. Every time. I don't know why, in this circumstance, they wouldn't feed the biggest numbers possible to front office sports. If the ESPN numbers are indeed not included here, then why didn't they include it and make everything look huge? This does not look big. No one is touting this as big. And if this is Nielsen, if these are Nielsen ratings, which is quite possibly the thing, quite possibly correct, and it's the big data panel data that's being collected, which is very likely it. Well, the unlimited numbers are included in this. So I don't like, I'm not quite sure on what foot to dance on here, I should say. I'm not quite sure. Because either way we're spinning this, either way we're talking about it, these numbers always end up looking underwhelming. If these numbers do indeed include the streaming numbers, this is not good. It was not good. It's not good. So just to make sure we're clear, these are the numbers for the first hour of WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday, both on ESPN networks. ESPN2 for night one, because it's the secondary night. Like a lot of people have started calling it, it's the pre-show. And then the real show, which is on Sunday, and that was aired on ESPN proper because it was a Brock match on top of that, and it only drew 1.82 million. The numbers get delivered leaked to Front Office Sports, who put them out, and they're likely getting the numbers directly from the source, and the source is giving these numbers and nothing else. These blatantly underwhelming numbers. In my opinion. So the argument of the even before that, and if these numbers are indeed Nielsen numbers tracked by Nielsen, and they're using the big data panel measuring system, then the streaming numbers are already included in these numbers here, which makes them even less impressive because you don't even have anything to tack on to that. And if they're not, well, why didn't WWE leak all of the numbers then? And make their number? Why didn't WWE leak the streaming numbers to FOS so that they do come across as huge? It's all a mystery to me. Like, it's very confounding. I don't quite understand. Again, I'm not champion ratings man. You know, there's probably subtleties in this that are escaping me, but like from a layman's point of view, looking at this, and as objective as I can, despite the fact that no, I don't like this company, but if they were having a success, I would talk about it. I laud them for their success. I don't see the success here. This all goes into a long-term tale where we're trying to understand how popular WWE really is and how much money they're fleecing from these media corporations that are spending out the ass for them and very likely not getting the return on investment. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you also why I don't think these are impressive numbers. I will give you the ultimate tell that these are not impressive numbers and that no one is patting themselves on the back and high-fiving each other. The ESPN PR account on Twitter, which constantly, not constantly, but whenever there is a big milestone that is hit, there's something important, there's something they want to put out there and communicate, they will make a tweet. They'll so many viewers, so many people watch this sporting event, the highest grossing NFL, not NFL, but NHL playoff match to be aired ever on ESPN and blah, blah, blah. That just happened a couple of days ago, right? It was the, I don't know, who cares? But it just happened a couple of days ago with the NHL. And I'm scrolling through it off of a little cue that I got from Rich Craich over there at the flagship, and look at what ESPN PR posted on April 22nd, just 5 days ago. This past Sunday's Texas softball UGA softball game averaged 725,000 viewers, making it the most watched regular season softball game since 2015. Folks, they are putting this into perspective. Put this into perspective. They are tweeting out viewership for softball games. Total viewership that goes under 1 million people, and the ESPN PR account verified with the little fucking yellow check mark there to make sure that, it is the real deal. 750,000 people watched this fucking game, and the PR side said, "Yeah, let's go. Let's make some noise around this." And they were tweeting out stuff regarding WWE and the build up to WWE. They had a series of tweets building up to Saturday. But in the post era, the post WrestleMania 42 era, there has not been a single word in regards to WrestleMania being a viewership success for ESPN in any way, shape, or form. So this to me, as a casual observer of ratings, of viewership, I look at this and I say to myself, I look at this specifically and I say to myself, they're not exactly thrilled with the numbers. You know why they're thrilled with 750,000 people watching a fucking softball game? Probably because ESPN is paying peanuts for the softball league. They're probably paying fucking peanuts for it. And they're like, holy shit, 750,000. Like it's probably going way above expectations. That's the reason. That's the only reason that they're looking at this and they're going, holy shit, we may have something here. This is very interesting. But WWE makes 1.6 million on the first night, 1.8 million on the second. And they're like, beep. Why? Why? Folks, I ask you why. Is it maybe because they're like, man, maybe we got shafted paying 1.6 billion, right? Wasn't that the amount? 1.6 billion for just these shows. Maybe we got carnied. Just maybe we got ourselves carnied. And I'd agree. I mean, I agree. I think ultimately the lesson here, I think there's trouble in paradise. Personally, I think I'm beginning to think that ESPN is not very enchanted with how their relationship with WWE is going. That would be my guess. Anyway, moving on, but also very close to all of this. Very close to all of this. Talk about, unimpressive ratings and whatnot. There is a sentiment floating around where it's like, hey, you know what? This Paul Levesque guy, he might not be as great as everyone thinks he is. He might not be as tremendous as people think he is. And there's a lot of fire being directed towards him. And have you noticed that when it comes to real public appearances, like in front of fans or doing front-facing things on social media, he's strangely been very absent. Oh, sure, he does the occasional. He did a couple of occasional ESPN interviews, but isn't it interesting that he's the usual Paul Levesque who just steps in front of steps under every spotlight to make sure that he gets his due, right? He's nowhere to be found. Or scarce. Very scarce. A lot of people are starting to think that, hey, you know what? Maybe this guy stinks. Maybe this guy's not great. Which it could be. It could be. I'm not throwing that possibility away. But you want to know what really then cemented it today? Today? You know what cemented it today? What cemented my thoughts, excuse me, that today, that Paul Levesque might be in a little bit of hot water with his bosses, that he might not be, in the best position. is that today, for some reason, completely unprompted, at a WWE Town Hall event, Nick Khan had to vouch for him. Let's read this article prepared from Brandon Thurston, by Brandon Thurston, for Post Wrestling. WWE President Nick Khan told staff on Monday, today, which is, by the way, April 27th, which is when we're recording this, in a town hall that WWE, let me read that again. Let's just start over. WWE President told staff on Monday in a town hall that WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Levesque will continue his role as head of creative, according to sources who viewed the town hall and informed Post Wrestling. We also obtained audio of the call. A number of us, including TKO President Mark Shapiro, TKO CFO Andrew Schleimer, others, were able to get Paul Levesque to extend with us in a multi-year deal, Khan said. We're excited about that. He's the head of creative, amongst other things, and has been doing a great job for and with us. That was the quote from Nick Khan. Interesting that he, basically was like, no, he's still with us, and we even signed a new contract. We got him to extend with us in a multi-year deal, as if Paul had anywhere else to go. Anyway, so he does have a golden parachute set up for him, but anyway. Khan also addressed online criticism of WWE, knowing during the town hall after being prompted by a question read by Shapiro asking how WWE is addressing, quote, concerns about over-commercialization and creative direction, unquote. Guys, it is extremely weird that Mark Shapiro, who is the president of TKO, is prompting questions in an event that is meant to make sure that everyone understands that the board, that the directors of the company of TKO have full confidence in Paul Levesque. This was weird. This is weird. This is very strange that the president chimes in. So, oh, by the way, Khan pushed back on recent criticism of WWE's product, characterizing it as, quote unquote, coming from a quote, a vocal minority, unquote. And he continued, to me, if you make business decisions based on online sentiment, just know that you're going to be making said decisions on a minority percentage of voices, a vocal minority. Now, guys, friends, chums, pals, gals, everyone else, everyone in between. Where have I heard this before? Where have I heard this before in regards to WWE not listening to the, either not listening to what's going on online or that the people online are a vocal minority? Where have I heard this before? A few years ago, right? Maybe 10 years ago or so, right? When people were complaining about the direction of WWE, and it was a vocal minority, right? It was me and my friend Mark who were complaining. It wasn't the real fans. It was a vocal minority of people online who were complaining. It's crazy. And it just so happens that Nick Khan gave some examples of past criticisms of tweets from 2015. Just so happens. Khan, I'll continue with the article here. Khan read what he said was a comment about Roman Reigns from 6 years earlier. I can't remember the last time the WWE Universe hated a wrestler this much. He will never work. The WWE president went on to recount the negative fan reaction to Reigns after his Royal Rumble 2015 win. See, as I was saying. Quote, when Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble in 2015, Fans went to Twitter with the hashtag cancel WWE Network. It trended for 2 days. Vince McMahon used the same vocal minority phrase at the time when he downplayed the reaction to that year's Rumble event. I knew I had heard that before somewhere, chat. Khan read what he said was a tweet. Quote, "Why does WWE insult fans like this with a bum like Roman Reigns?" Chat, Roman was not well booked. Roman was not well booked at all. Because one man was stubborn with a direction and thought and was going to make it work by hook or by crook. And look at what happened. The minute that he made the full heel turn, suddenly Roman Reigns became cool. Isn't that interesting? He read another response related to Bad Bunny. Quote, "I'm losing my mind. Why is Bad Bunny in the WWE? Bad Bunny single-handedly ruined the Royal Rumble." Well, no one says that. No one said that. Whoever said that was just delusional. No one said that. Khan continued, quote, "On The Rock's return to WWE, the people don't want the people's champion. The Rock came back one too many times, and now people are sick of him." Next, Khan cited criticism of John Cena, continuing to frame these criticisms as unrelated to business results. Quote, "On John Cena's retirement tour, who needs a John Cena retirement tour? Haven't we seen enough of him? John Cena's retirement year was so random." Unquote. He turned to online comments about CM Punk. Quote, "Last on CM Punk. Why would they ever return this bum to the WWE? He will never main event again." Unquote. Khan referred to comments Shapiro made earlier in the call about online sentiment that showed night 2 of WrestleMania was more favorably received than night 1. Khan praised the headlining talent. Quote, "I said CM Punk, Roman Reigns, as anyone who watched it knows, stole the show," Khan said. "Pretty good re-signing CM Punk, who's been a model citizen here." While discounting online reactions from fans, Khan also encouraged internal dialogue. Quote, "So the most important thing is to have open dialogue. Myself, Paul, the creative team, what's working, what's not working, who to push, who not to push," unquote. WWE communication staff did not respond to a request to comment from Post Wrestling. So look, I think there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about regarding the president of the company who's sitting around and also saying we don't listen to vocal minorities, we don't listen to the internet. Like, that's even Triple H who said that, right? We don't listen to people online sitting there in a town hall reading tweets from 2015. I fucking hope that from this point forward, we're going to stop pretending that WWE doesn't care about what's happening online. If the vocal minority on about WWE, the criticism that they get was not an issue, they would not talk about it. If they weren't concerned about it, they wouldn't talk about it. This is exactly what happens, friends. This is exactly what happens every year when the Observer Awards come out, and people the entire year will tell you the Observer Awards are shit. No one cares. It's garbage. Who cares about star ratings and all that? That too, right? And then when the Observer Awards come out, everyone loses their fucking mind over it. And WWE actually makes it a part of their fucking programming to try and counter the sentiment. No one cares about Dave's star ratings, but everyone has a fucking meltdown when Dave doesn't give high enough ratings to the matches. Like what he gave 3.5 to Orton and Cody, right? Which I think is fine. I think that's, in fact, exactly what the match deserves, but people lost their minds. They lost their minds to a rating system that is apparently unreliable and is not unreliable and irrelevant, right? Cool. But what concerns us here is we're not going to spend all this time talking about the tweets. I've said my piece about it. I don't think there's anything more to add. I think, as a parting thought, let's use this one here. The next time anyone argues from WWE that we don't listen to what happens online, we don't listen to vocal minorities, why is it then, this is what you argue, why is it then, if you don't care about it so much, that your president was reading tweets in a town hall meeting? If you don't care, why was he doing that? But for us, we're concerned with something else. We're concerned with another situation here that is hanging behind everything we just talked about.
It's time to play the game.
Oh yeah. It is.
Time to play the game.
Oh yes. Triple H here. Our boy. Getting a vote of confidence here. A public vote of confidence from his boss saying, it's fine. Hey, everyone, no, don't worry. Everything is cool here. Everything is cool. Hey, Kristen, nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. It's nice to see you and welcome. And nice to see you, Hikaru, as well. Also a member of the channel. But all of this came unprompted, right? All of this came unprompted. I don't think there has been a swell amongst journalists, pundits, demanding the removal of Paul Levesque from his spot. I've speculated. I've wondered. I don't know. What have I been consistent about here when talking about Paul Levesque and his spot in WWE? Here on these streams, on the podcast, how have I have been nothing but consistent, telling you all the same thing over and over again. Paul, for the first time in WWE history, the guy who's in charge of creative is in an ejector seat. Fans have been conditioned to think that Paul Levesque is in the creative spot and he's safe from all invaders, right? They think he's like Vince. Vince was not in an ejector seat because Vince owned the fucking company and did whatever he wanted to do. It was his playground. It was his frat house. It was his TV show, and he catered it to himself. But you could not get rid of Vince. And I've been saying this for years. Telling people, hey, Paul here can be jettisoned at any given moment. Whenever things start to go awry within WWE, these people running the company can just go, sayonara, pal. Mwah! Good night and good bang. Goodbye and good night, bang. They can do that at any given moment. And I speculated, I was like, well, if business metrics, I always said, as long as WWE is making money, I don't think they have a reason to get rid of Paul Levesque. But the minute that WWE starts to lose money, that's when I think his job truly is in peril. I think that's really, really in peril. Now, they're not necessarily losing money, but they're not making all the money. And that's a problem for a greedy corporation like TKO Holdings / Endeavor. They will not be satisfied with money. They will be satisfied with, they will only be satisfied with all the money. But anyway, to circle back here, despite the outside of the speculation and maybe some fan angst around it as well, I haven't seen like a gaggle of journalists come together and demand the departure of Paul Levesque. You know, like this is the kind of thing that happens on sports radio, like for actual sports teams. You know, all of a sudden you'll see journalists and radio hosts and podcast hosts, and they'll all sort of start chiming in together, and you got to fire the head coach. He's terrible. So then what happens? What happens then? What happens is then a lot of the times you are going to have the owner, the general manager, whatever, is going to show up and he's going to give a public vote of confidence. That's usually what he does. And in European football, in soccer, this is somewhat of a meme, okay? Because here's the thing. I'm jumping ahead, but first things first. No one has been asking for Paul Levesque's head publicly. If Levesque's job was actually secure, there's no scenario where leadership needs to have a town hall to confirm that he kept his job. Stability doesn't get announced, folks. It just, it goes on. It exists. It's a status quo. But we had to make a show here that Paul Levesque is fine. The very act of saying, you know, that he's okay and he's safe is suspicious. Khan didn't tell staff that Levesque is staying because executives were worried that he was getting promoted out. He said it because either internal leadership was anxious, talent was anxious, or shareholders were anxious, or external speculation was hardening enough to require a stop the bleeding type of scenario. But none of those situations happen. They're not good, but none of those situations happen. At least not publicly. Healthy companies don't reassure their people that the head of creative still has the gig. And the giveaway here is Mark Shapiro prompting his question. That, of course, it was staged. I think we all understand that, but the TKO president doesn't spontaneously raise his hand with WWE, with his WWE counterpart on a mic talking about online criticism without it being agreed beforehand. Which means TKO wanted this message to be delivered as a unified front message, which means somebody in this structure felt the need to project unity. You don't project unity unless someone is questioning whether it exists or not. And like I said, I don't think there's criticism, but I don't think there's some umpteen crazy amount of pressure from the outside looking in, from journalists and people like myself demanding that Triple H gets fired. There's no common front on that. Absolutely impossible. But I think this is a definite indication that there is something going on backstage, that at the very least, management is anxious. At the very least, the business partners are anxious. Everyone is going around wondering, is this guy the guy? Is this guy really the guy? And it could be talent too. You know, it could be the stakeholders, the stockholders of the company. Could be so many things that people having conversations that we're not privy to. It could be just management in WWE. Could be just Nick Paul and the rest of the rest of the guys who all work there in an executive capacity who are just having these conversations with each other, and Paul Levesque is rattled. And Paul Levesque right now, they're like, well, we're going to stick with them, and we got to come out showing that we are a united front. We are a united front. What do you think the vocal minority conversation was about? It wasn't about necessarily criticism about the show. They've already patted themselves to anyone who will challenge this, the idea that they kept Triple H on board. Because they will be able to say, look, it's the same vocal minority that told us CM Punk stinks, and yet he had a great main event on Sunday, and everyone's in agreement with that. So the people who want Paul Levesque to leave are the same people who are in this vocal minority. This is what they've designed to patch it up. To make sure that they're padded, that they have a scapegoat. The vocal minority. It's not people who really want this. It's a vocal minority of fans online. When I was talking about earlier, when I started off talking about European football and soccer, and I got sidetracked, and I was like, wait a second, I'm jumping ahead here. The vote of confidence in the Premier League in soccer is a thing. It's a meme. It's a thing, right? It's usually the chairman comes out, backs the club manager publicly, let's say on a Tuesday, and then the manager gets fired on Friday, type of thing. Like that's the meme. The mechanism is the same everywhere. Ownership only feels compelled to publicly defend an employee once the defense becomes necessary. And once it's necessary, the relationship has already shifted. Even if they decide to stick together and tough it out, write it out, the dynamic has changed in this company. Paul Levesque is not perceived in the same way. He is on the defensive. TKO is on the defensive, and they are sticking their necks out to protect Paul Levesque. He is on thin ice more than ever. There are things that he probably just won't be able to do anymore. Brandon in the article asked the same question himself, right? He said about whether it being unclear, whether the comments reflect a formal extension of Levesque's employment contract or a less formal affirmation. It's interesting. It just continues to show that this guy here, who wanted to make damn sure that he was the face of this Vince-less WWE, that he was the guy who was coming in to change it, make it better, make it grand and whatnot, right? Become like the guy, has no power. And we've started to see it. I talked about it last week. I'm going to talk about it here again. Triple H has no real power. Triple H, at best at this point, and we're going to talk about it again in a little bit, but he is a guy who is a manager. He is a low-level manager who essentially does what he's told. And he does his job to the best of his ability. And he just throws in his creative ideas. and then makes way for when his bosses come in and say, we're going to do this instead. It's like, you got it, boss. He has no real power. He is not a man who is in control of his own domain. The emperor has no clothes. I think all of this, and then the bit that we're going to talk about right after this, just continues to compound, continues to show that Triple H he is no leader. He is no builder. He doesn't create. This is a guy who sits around and uses the power and the influence of those around him who have more power and influence to flex in a way that is extremely hollow and empty, because it had been in the past and can be taken away from him again. It was taken away from him. It was taken away from him in the past. If you remember when NXT lost the Wednesday Night Wars, what happened to Paul Levesque? Did he stay in charge of NXT? No. Vince stepped in, took him away. Like, look, you're having us lose on Wednesday nights. They reassigned him somewhere. And then eventually when Vince started to get the move out, then suddenly he returned to full creative powers. Isn't this interesting? He has no power. No real power. Not in the company. He's a guy whose job is to corral talent, tell them what to do on a week-to-week basis. Make sure talent gets developed and whatnot. But does he hold any real power? Does he have any real strength? No. He can be overridden at any moment. It happened during WrestleMania season last year and the year before that and this year again. He can try his best to try and show that he is in control and whatnot, but it's all show. It's all cosplay. It's Paul Levesque doing the thing that he has excelled for the entirety of his career, and that is cosplay as a top guy. Just pretend, make believe that he is a top guy in professional wrestling. And this is what this public vote of confidence demonstrates. This is what it shows. The company, there's people backstage, there's people maybe backstage, maybe the shareholders, maybe the executives of the company. Someone is shook. Someone is shook to the point where they have to show a front of unity and that they're throwing their full support behind Paul Levesque. That you should not worry about Paul Levesque because Paul Levesque has the support of the company. Like I said, if he truly had support, if he truly had the support of the company, we wouldn't be making a show out of it. It would just be business as usual. It would just be status quo. Let's keep moving forward. But no, we needed to reassure someone here. Someone needed some reassurances. And hey, maybe it was Paul Levesque himself who needed the reassurances. You saw how we texted, how we text Nick Khan, in the shareholder lawsuit, right? The text that were leaked is that he's a nervous Nilly. He's an anxious little boy who needs to be reassured by the boss that everything is going to be okay. That's where we're at right now. Oh, the Courtry, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. This is like an NFL coach where when the owners put out a statement of support, you know they're on a very, very hot seat, usually to be fired within the year. That's it. It's like I said, right? But you are absolutely right. Just it reinforces what I said. When I said that, the dynamics have changed. They might all be out there saying show of support, unification, whatnot. But by doing this, it shows that the dynamics in the back have changed. The dynamics within the executive branch have changed dramatically. Paul is not perceived the same way this year as he has been in the past 3 years. Mike McCullough, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Yeah, I mean, it's your bad, but we're not done. Well, we're not done. Basil 316. Nice to see you and welcome. Not sure if it's already been talked about, but burning bridges is one thing, but burning bridges on behalf of Triple H is crazy. Aleister Black is a wild one. I mean, we talked about it last week, but I don't mind talking about Aleister Black some more. It's fine. Look, all I can add about it in regards to the Aleister Black that we haven't already talked about on the stream last Friday is everyone who tells you, every report that you read that the AEW locker room doesn't want him back is true. That is exactly the sentiment. No one wants Aleister Black back in that locker room. They don't want Malachi Black. Now, does Tony Khan want him back? That's a whole different 9 yards there. That's different. Because the one thing, I was chatting on Blue Sky today, and the one thing that people seem to forget is that, this was pointed out, and I thought it was it's a tremendous point. The one thing that people seem to forget, when they do the comparisons with Andrade and Aleister, right? And Andrade also, he was a big mope face and whatnot. Andrade left AEW on excellent terms with Tony Khan. And you don't need to have inside information to figure that one out. In his last month of employment, he did the Continental Classic, finished with a winning record, looked great in the process, and wrestled on the last pay-per-view. Lost, but wrestled on the last pay-per-view, and the next day he was a free agent. I mean, that to me shows you're on someone's good side. You're on the booker's good side. Not sure Aleister had that. Look, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not Tony Khan. I don't know if Tony has the same type of relationship. If he had the same type of, if he's had the same type of relationship as Malachi Black, but I doubt it. I don't think so. I don't think he had the same. I don't think they finished at the very least on the same good terms as Andrade did. That's just up to me. D. Owens, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It's nice to see you. Also a member of the channel. Also, what works for Andrade is that he's incredibly charismatic and comes off very genuine, almost earnest. This is all new, though. This is new for Andrade to be this way. And I think it's because I think it's because this whole experience with going to WWE and coming back to AEW has served him up a great big slice of humble pie. I think that's the thing ultimately. He ended up getting served just like a big. It ended up giving him a big burst of humility, where he's like, "Well, okay, this is probably the last place I have left to work and make some serious money in pro wrestling, right?" Because sure, he has an opening to work New Japan, but does he want to go to Japan? Does he want to work that often? And, can they afford him for more than a couple of matches a year? There's also that too. CMLL is still very unsure, but that relationship didn't end well. WWE, that relationship didn't end well. A guy whose back is against the wall is, you go, well, okay, this is what I have to do. Plus, like I say multiple times on this show, right now if I was being pushed like Andrade, I'd be smiling and being happy as well. I'd be up in seventh heaven right now too. I'm being pushed with the top guys of the company. I'm beating the top guys of the company. I'm beating Kenny Omega. I'm beating Swerve Strickland. I'm taking selfies with women who can't keep their hands off of me. And I disrobe in the ring, and this is getting me over. So my gimmick is sexy man who beats top guys. Sure, that's a good gimmick. But Andrade is one of these, so I wouldn't complain either. What I'm curious to see is what happens when and if there is a down cycle where he starts hanging around the Orange Cassidy level, with the conglomeration and the dogs. If that ever happens, will he continue to be a happy camper? Again, Andrade has gone above and beyond any of my expectations since his return, but I still keep him at arm's length. People can change, and he's proven me wrong. For the anticipation, right? For my own reservations that I had in regards to his return. But I'm just keeping him at arm's length because it's Andrade, and he has a past. He has a very, very, very clear past. So the minute things don't exactly go his way, that he doesn't get exactly what he wants, is he going to go back to posting pictures of, muscle cars in garages and saying, how do you keep such a great car locked up in a garage all day? I don't know. When is he going to start sad posting like he used to? When is he going to get in a fight with Sammy Guevara? That last one was a joke. I feel like Andrade probably pulled the Regal game and played TK's heartstrings, and since the marriage did crumble and he decided to come back, it may have been true. I don't know how much it has to do with the marriage. I don't know how much it has to do with the divorce. Because I'll tell you one thing. If he got if he did I understand what you mean when you say he played a Regal and fiddled with TK's feelings, right? As opposed to doing outright what Regal did and just being a snake. Being snaky about it. He wasn't. He was very clear, and everything happened on that front. I just don't know if the departure, I don't know if the WWE departure was all that related to the divorce. That's all. To me, that's very doubtful. Since we're talking Nick Khan and the internet being a vocal minority, the crowd in Laredo tried to do "We Want Kyrie" chants and almost got immediately hushed up. So so we're trying to do a Ron Killings here. We're trying to pull an R-Truth. We want truth. We want Kyrie. Think that one's gonna work? Think it's gonna work this time? Just let her go. It's fine. Why would Kyrie say that? Why would Kyrie stick around? You all saw the Reddit post, right? With the compiled her stats, and she has like one win, like one TV win, like over 7 years in a singles match. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It didn't work with the grassroots Karrion Kross push. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. All right, we'll go back now to the docket because we're still not done. We're still not done.
It's time to play the game.
It's still time. We're not done yet.
Time to play the game.
I wish I had that guy's voice. This is also something that came up a couple of days ago, not even last week, just a couple of days ago. That shout out to people in the Discord who shared some audio with me late last week. They shared with me some audio of Mark Shapiro, who was giving a talk in some college somewhere. I can't remember exactly. In Kentucky, I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter. But he was giving a talk in a college, and he was taking questions from the audience, and he had this one guy record himself asking Mark Shapiro a question about, the recent decisions in the lead up to WrestleMania and so on and so forth. And I thought it was a very pointed, like, internet smart type of question. I'm like, why is he asking Mark Shapiro this? It's very, because he was talking about the creative decisions and whatnot, and Pat McAfee being slotted in and all that, and how much, and basically saying how much influence does TKO have in the creative process. And Mark Shapiro essentially said, yeah, we have complete control. And I dismissed it. I poo-pooed it. I backhanded it. First of all, because of the source from which it was it was taken from on Twitter, which is not necessarily a reliable source. And and I was and the nature of the question sounded very smarky. And it felt like they were in a business environment, like in a business school. I was like, why are you asking like goofy, dopey, internet nerd, wrestling nerd questions? Like, I was very, very skeptical, and I sort of brushed it off. But apparently, I shouldn't have, because there's been stuff that's been bubbling up to the surface here in regards to this assumption that TKO has complete control of WWE creative. Let's read the article. Earlier this week, comments made by TKO president and COO Mark Shapiro at a University of Alabama class, Kentucky, Alabama, it's all the same, were spread online with Shapiro. I'm sure I transgressed something by saying that in some way, in some like college sports way. I'm sure by me saying Alabama, Kentucky, it's all the same thing. I'm sure like I've hit some nerves. I'm sure I have. With Shapiro stating that TKO is in full control of WWE creative. Shapiro's comments were made prior to WrestleMania 42, and Dave Meltzer addressed the situation in this week's edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Meltzer noted that while TKO executives do have final say over WWE creative, they almost never use it. However, when they did at WrestleMania 42, it was said to have come at the most inopportune time. Meltzer wrote, quote, "It was noticed," great start. "It was noted to us that in the end, Emmanuel and Shapiro do have the final say in creative, but they almost never use it. It was said that in this situation, they used it at the most inopportune time. There was a ton of chaos regarding those on the wrestling side who didn't want the McAfee and Jelly Roll involvement in a world title match they had been slowly building for months, and how the celebrities took the focus away." Which is fair. I think that is a fair concern and a very just concern at the same time. So, unquote. Meltzer also wrote that one person stated they saw conflict between TKO and WWE coming a year in advance. Quote, one person noted seeing the TKO executives versus WWE creative team battle coming for a year and said there was a lot of internal jockeying going on and it was encouraged by Ari Emanuel and Shapiro. It was noted to us that everyone acknowledges that at the end of the day, they have complete control, but they rarely use it. And the complaint this year was that when they use it, it's at the worst time, unquote. Now, these types of revelations are retconning a lot of beliefs that I had and that I supported very, very strongly moving forward. You know, in regards to TKO and their involvement in the creative aspects of WWE. If you recall, and I was very, very vehement in these explanations that I would give to make sure that everyone understood that even though they didn't like the creative decisions, you can't blame TKO because Paul Levesque is the head of creative and TKO is a holdings company. And like I mentioned, a holdings company exists to own companies, properties, and don't necessarily get involved into the day-to-day because their job is to run these companies for maximum, at maximum efficiency so that they can generate maximum profit for the shareholders. Typically speaking, a holdings company works for its shareholders first and foremost because the holdings company doesn't make things, it doesn't create things, it doesn't create products or services, it exploits them. It gives influxes of money, right? But then, expects the return on investment to be very high for its shareholders. So the holdings, but looking at all of this, diving a little more and asking some questions, some very, very smart people around me, the holdings in TKO Group Holdings, right, specifically, is corporate structure accounting, I guess, and not necessarily a hands-off investment philosophy, because it's an operating company that got spun out of Endeavor, run by the same Endeavor people, specifically Emanuel and Shapiro, with the explicit mandate of managing UFC and WWE as integrated media IP. They're not stewards, essentially. They're operators. Because this company answers to Endeavor, essentially. So the Endeavor might be in the spot that I just described as to what a holding company typically is or how it acts. Whereas in this case, they're more, they're more operators than anything else. So if your job is maximizing shareholder value, then the creative is the product in this circumstance here. WWE's entire valuation rests on content. The Netflix deal, the USA deal, sponsorships, live gates, merch, NXT, CW. Every single revenue line traces back to what happens on TV. So staying out of creative, I guess, as it was explained to me, would kind of be like a car company CEO saying, making cars, that's not my department. You see what I mean? Creative decisions are the business, essentially. So I was like, all right. Right. So what TKO is actually pushing is a specific creative strategy in these circumstances. This is they haven't used it a lot, like we said, but when they have used their creative control, it has been in very specific instances, and that is to bring outside stars, celebrities, mainstream crossover. This year, McAfee, Jelly Roll, IShowSpeed, Speed, Logan Paul, none of that is abstract creative meddling. It's deliberate. It's a deliberate play to inflate the ratings and spike viral moments ahead of the next TV rights cycle. When Shapiro says, he said that recently, when he says the celebrity thing is a growth strategy, right? That's not marketing speak. And we found out that when Mark Shapiro seems to be just talking word salad, there's always weight to what he's saying. So when he says there's growth strategy, that's the thesis that he's pitching to Wall Street. He's not talking to you and me. He's talking to investors. Big cultural moments, bigger rights fees, bigger site fees. You see how this is going? So when Meltzer writes about the tension, what he's describing isn't holding company versus operations, right? It's media conglomerate logic versus wrestling logic. That's where the clash is happening here. The WWE creative room, head up by Paul Levesque, thinks in wrestling terms and long-term development terms, right? Storylines, characters, like the Aleister Black slow burn that apparently was the original plan before Pat McAfee got thrown in, right? That's an excellent example right there. They were working towards this for a while. Emmanuel and Shapiro think in audience expansion. So who's going to trend on Monday night? Who gets a variety headline? What makes the Netflix deal look smarter in 3 years? Both ways are fine to come together and work as a business. They just ultimately they optimize for different time horizons, if that makes sense. The Meltzer detail about they rarely use it, but they did it at the worst time, that's the giveaway. That's how you understand that they're not uber involved in creative. They do have creative control, but they're not micromanaging. They're parachuting in on the prestige shows where the mainstream eyeballs matter the most. And the moment where everyone's turning to them and looking and staring. And that's also precisely when wrestling fans care the most in regards to payoff for the storylines that they've been invested in. So the collision that's happening here isn't accidental, it's structural within the company. So in other words, if you all followed me here, TKO isn't TKO should be a holdings, as a holdings company, should be hands off, but it's not, because it's a holdings company in name, but it's actually a media operator, and the creative is the factory floor, and that's what they're trying to do, and that gave me a better understanding of it. So instead of me sitting here moving forward saying, Paul Levesque has the last word and Paul Levesque is the guy that you should be blaming for everything on TV and whatnot, I'm going to step back away from that. Although there is a degree to that is still true. But what this tells me ultimately is that Paul Levesque has no power. Like we said in the previous segment, the emperor has no clothes. He's a boss. He's a middle manager is what he is. And whenever his boss is calling him into the office and tell him this is what we're going to do, well, he has to go do their bidding. So he's just a schlub like everyone else on the in the company. He's just a guy doing what the company wants him to do. He's not a creator. He's not a builder. He's not forming clay out of his hands. And besides, everything that he does ultimately has the very high potential of not mattering. It might not matter. Whatever plans he has on his whiteboard from this day right here, the 27th of April, leading us all into Saudi Arabia next year for WrestleMania, whatever those plans are for the very end, they can be retconned like that because he's not in control, because it's not him. It won't be up to him. It will be up to his bosses. So it's very, very interesting when you think about it this way. You know, because ultimately, I don't care. Like, I don't care who has the last call. I'm completely detached from this company. Like, I'm completely detached from WWE. So I don't care who has creative control. I don't care who has who has the last laugh type of thing. Like, it doesn't matter to me. They can do whatever they want. But what all WWE fans should be aware of is that whatever Papa Paul comes up with in regards to his creative ideas and his directions, they can all be retconned in a second. If Ari Emanuel wants, Pat McAfee, who will be the next Sylvester Stallone, or whoever else, what if they want, what if Post Malone gets involved and, wants to fight? That's what they're looking for. That's the stuff they want. So your boy Paul just doesn't have any power. He has no power. If your week-to-week creative isn't great, that's fine and dandy. But once you start seeing celebrities appear and people pop up on screen that aren't necessarily a part of pro wrestling, that'll be a pretty solid tell that TKO got involved in that one. I think that's how we have to perceive this moving forward. Hey, Jay Luthi, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. Give the tardiness. My boss sent an email to the whole company how great of a job I was doing, and how he had full confidence in me. That's tremendous? Big ups, Jay Luthi. Holy shit, good job, brother. Yeah, and hopefully it does give you some tangible benefits. It's like, oh, my boss Nick Khan is a great guy. Oh, fuck off. Yeah, I got worked. I was feeling good for you. I was on your side. I was like, hell yeah. A little recognition. That fucking rocks. Company-wide recognition. I got suckered. You used my empathy against me. Triple H is just a guy standing before a fan base wanting them to love him. That's the story of his career. That's entirely the story of his career. I can't wait for Triple H's WrestleMania plans to be torn up so AI Tony the Tiger can wrestle AI Cheerios Honeybee in the main event. I haven't talked about this in a while, but I want to bring this back to the table, okay? I want to bring this back to the table. Because we're a year away. And I would not. There's a lot of things that led to this to this thought here. But, you know, like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, I don't know if you remember when they started first working with WWE and, you know, they wanted Ultimate Warrior and all of that. And it was like, well, you know, a lot of the guys they wanted to, well, they're dead. They've been dead for years in certain cases, you know. We'd love to bring them and whatnot. And you know how they're always talking about creating these new experiences and whatnot. And, you know, WWE, what was it, like 2 years ago? Started talking about, you know, a holographic technology and how they thought that was interesting and whatnot. Folks, oh yeah, they wanted Yokozuna. Correct. But they also wanted Warrior, but they also wanted Yokozuna. But you know, everyone, I think none of us should be surprised if next year at WrestleMania, we get an advertisement that on the show will be the first ever, like, hologram wrestling match. And they're going to have Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant in a brand new match. You know, and they're going to hype it like it's AI that's going to decide the outcome and all this bullshit. And it's going to be on the card. And I'm not talking like they're going to do this as a sideshow. You know, they're going to put this on the card. And save this stream. Put it in your, you know, in your journals, in your notebooks. You know, write this down. I'm convinced that this is something that they're going to do. Emily all day, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Watching people play WWE 2K, but it's WrestleMania. Exactly. You got it. But they're gonna tout it as this big thing, and it's gonna be powered by AI. It's gonna be the AI that's gonna decide. You know, it's gonna be the AI that's gonna decide how the match is gonna be structured, how it's gonna go, who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. I got the Oscar fever. How about you? Oh. Okay. We're going to skip over here. We're going to finish off some talk about the releases from last Friday. Talked about them in and we did an extensive stream covering the releases. We talked a lot about it. We went through it quite a bit last Friday. There's not much to add, but there are just a few little things that have popped up over the last couple of days. So as of today, on April 27, this is some extra information here that is being covered on the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer website. Fightful reported on Sunday, the 26th, that talent started to find out about the releases around 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday, with the word departures being used to describe the situation. Internal emails were sent out to some of WWE's departments notifying them of the cuts. According to Fightful sources, Triple H, Nick Khan, and WWE Talent Relations were the primary decision makers behind making the move. Additionally, sources said, I mean, there's no surprise there. Like I said on Friday, right? Like I said when we talked about this, anyone who doesn't think that Triple H was not involved in these decisions is completely out to lunch. Just completely fucking out to lunch. Additionally, sources said that the majority of the releases were made in order to make way for new talent. You know, I was joking about, I was joking about how you had to get rid of, you know, Zoe Stark, Nikki Cross, and who was the third of the first release? Kairi Sane. No, it wasn't Kairi Sane. It was Nikki Cross, Zoe Stark, and Kaylee Ray. Those were the three. first ones to be released, and they were all women. I was like, and I was joking when I said, "Oh boy, Soraya's contract sure costs a lot. You have to fire 3 girls to hire Soraya." Then I see this report here, and I'm like, maybe my joke isn't all that far off. Fightful also noted a recent Body Slam Plus report about it. Still sounds like a supplement. It still sounds like a supplement. I will never be able to talk about Body Slam's premium service, subscription service, Body Slam Plus, without thinking it's a it's a protein add-on. It's a something you add in a shake. Body Slam Plus is it's like a muscle building supplement. I'm sorry. Fightful also noted a recent Body Slam Plus report about SmackDown moving back to 2 hours in the near future. Sure, bringing all this new talent. Let's take away some hours. Regarding Kairi Sane's release, Fightful said there was a ton of shock towards her departure. Sane had been regularly featured on television in the weeks leading to WrestleMania 42, where she was an active participant in the storyline revolving around herself, Io Sky, and Asuka. It was said that there was quote unquote heavy frustration to her being released before the payoff to that story was completed. Look, a couple of years ago, I had an argument with someone. I had an argument with someone about the nature of a push. This was around the time that Shinsuke Nakamura was challenging Seth Rollins, like for a couple of pay-per-view cycles. I think it was for the consolation prize, the fake world title, right? Yeah, it was in that circumstance. And there were a couple of cycles that Shinsuke was challenging. And that was when Shinsuke Nakamura debuted his new music, his new look, it doesn't matter, but it's like in that area there. And that person was telling me, because we were talking about Shinsuke Nakamura, and the gist of it was that I thought that, like most people do, thought that they were using Shinsuke Nakamura very poorly. That person was saying, "What are you talking about? Shinsuke Nakamura is getting a push." It's like, what do you mean he's getting a push? He's losing all the time to Seth Rollins, and then they pull him out of the mothballs, nowhere to be seen on TV. He's being put in these matches with Rollins, yes, but he's losing all the time. And then when they're done, they're going to just put him back in the closet until they need him again. That's not a push. That's not what a push is. And the person was telling me, no. A push is when you get TV time. I'm like, no, that's insane. You have people who lose all the time on television because that's their role, like a jobber or, a lower card guy or whatever. These are not pushes. That's not a push. That's not what a push is. So when I read stuff like this, where it's like, oh, well, she was on TV. This is weird. Yeah, she was on TV. They weren't doing jack with her. Oh, well, she was involved in this story. Well, she wasn't winning any matches. This is not a push. I don't know why anyone is surprised. If she's on TV and she's not winning matches and she's not in the high profile thing, the story, from what I understand, mostly was supposed to lead to Io Shirai versus Asuka. That's the match everyone was expecting, correct? And Kairi was a third party in this. I don't know. It's not a push. Just because you're on television doesn't fucking mean you get a push. And it's not automatically a push. Yes, it's good to get TV time. Don't get me wrong. It's a priceless commodity in the world of professional wrestling in 2026. It's not an indication that you're anything special. It doesn't indicate that that creative is behind you. On the NXT releases, it was noted that new performance center signings are expected to be announced soon. Oh boy. A new cycle of NIL kids. Of faceless, nameless NIL kids that'll just cycle in and out. Who cares? Among the names cut on Friday include Sane, Kyrie Sane, All the Way at 6, Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, and the Motor City Machine Guns on the main roster, while Tyra May Steele, Luca Crucifino, who announced his retirement from professional wrestling today, and Dante Chen were among the NXT names. There was also, what was it, Tommy Lumineer? What was his name? Triller London, something to that effect. Trilly London, Illy London, anyway. Carly Bright, who was not listed on Friday, confirmed her departure on Sunday, so you can add her to the list. Carly Bright, she was the dollar store Tiffy Time, right? She was the dollar store Tiffany Stratton, if I'm not mistaken, right? Isn't that her thing? Most of these people are never going to wrestle. They're not going to touch wrestling ever again. Anyway, we already talked about it, so no need to keep pounding that. On the topic of the Motor City Machine Guns, I believe I heard, but I believe it broke containment. I'm sorry if it didn't. I think it did. I think the word going around is that TNA is going to make a play for the Motor City Machine Guns, but that they're likely going to end up in AEW. And read between the lines on that one. And if you don't want to read between the lines, or you can't, let me do it for you. TNA won't be able to afford machine guns, which they shouldn't. They should not go. They should not go to this they should not go to this phony baloney company wrestling promotion if they have any self-respect. I know they have history there and whatnot, but for Pete's sake, come wrestle interesting tag team. Come give us some matches that I think everyone would be into. I think everyone would love to see the Bucks and the Machine Guns go at it in AEW and FTR. I'd love a Brodito match. Let's bring those dudes together for this. I'd be into it. Hell, give us the swirl. Motivated Blake Christian bouncing around with Alex Shelley. Fuck yeah. You got me on that one. TNA spent the TV budget on the resurrection of a bunny. You know, I was laughing with someone offline, and we were talking about how you know what, Aleister Black should go to TNA because there's the undead realm, right? And he'd fit right in. And I was like, Wyatt, no, Aleister Black will not, you know, the rules of the undead world will not behoove him. He will be in disagreement with the rules of the undead realm. He will want his own realm, and he'll probably have that in his contract when he goes to TNA, where he says, I will have to have the black realm, and I'll have my own stories and things. So we'll have like two spooky zones, two spooky universes within the TNA universe, and these two universes shall the twain shall never meet. Bucks versus Machine Guns for 30 minutes to open Dynamite would heal a part of me. See, it'd be so cool. It'd be so fucking cool. And even if it's not the Bucks, what if it's not like a 2-on-2? What if it's an 8-man tag? One of these party 8-man tags where you got the Bucks on one side. Let's say, you know, throw in the party guys. Throw in Jack Perry and Jack Perry and Bandito, let's say. Now on the other side, you've got the Motor City Machine Guns, and you've got, I don't know, the Rascals, like two members of the Rascals. That's tremendous. Like right there, you've got yourself that's a PWG match right there. That is a prime party match right there. Malachi, real big fan of D&D. Hey, hang on a second. There's nothing wrong with D&D though. Okay? I want to make this very clear. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, and I will break you. So the last thing I want to talk about tonight is the call-ups. And not just because I want to name some names here. I've got a bit of analysis to accompany this. Again, I don't watch the product, but a bunch of NXT people got called up. Sol Ruka, Ethan Page, Joe Hendry, Fatal Influence, and Blake Monroe finally, and Ricky Sainz finally are up on the main roster. Congratulations to them. Now, not that I am not going to sit here and say, well, what kind of matches should we expect? What brands on they're on, and what can they do? I don't care. I don't watch the show, so I don't care about. What I do think is interesting, though, look at all these names here, right? Look at all the names that are here. Who's left in NXT? And I'm asking this earnestly, not trying to be facetious here. Who's left? All of these names here that you see here, they're all names that were all on all the pay-per-views, all their stuff, all their big matches, they're all gone. Like there's Tony D. And you can argue the level of star power that dude has. Who's left? Not that they shouldn't be able to build new stars. It is the WWE Performance Center after all, the central nervous system of professional wrestling that just constantly pumps out great professional wrestlers one after the other. We all know how that goes. No, but the reason I'm asking this is let's say I'm an executive of the CW. And I see that all the stars of this TV show that we're paying you, or that they're paying me to put on. Let me say that again. I got lost here in my thought process. I'm the CEO of the CW. I'm paying these guys for a TV show weekly, and I'm paying them handsomely for it. And I look at them and say, where the fuck are all the stars? Where the fuck are all the people that were there week after week? Why are they suddenly all on your other shows? What about me? And I think that's legitimate. I think that's a legitimate gripe to have. Folks, right? Chat, back me up here. If you're the CW and you see this, you're like, what the fuck, man? What, are you going to send me Roman Reigns now? Is that the thing? Do I get Roman Reigns? Do I get Becky Lynch? What do I get? Because I don't know if you've noticed, really, but the talent exchange between NXT and TNA, on the NXT side, when's the last time someone showed up? I know that, they've got, what's her name? Ariana Grace? Is that it? Snake Dude's daughter. She's there with her boyfriend, Stax Lorenzo, right? You know, what is this back in? What's left on NXT on Tuesday nights that is going to have people tune in? If all the people that they were tuning in for, this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 8 people from your roster that are gone, right? Because Fatal Influence are 3 people. That's 8 people. All recognizable faces, all faces attached to NXT. And this and then suddenly, well, oh, nope, we're going off elsewhere. And if legitimately I'm the CEO of or the director of programming or whoever I made this fucking deal with, like, what the fuck, man? And WWE can be like, well, you have to understand this is our feeder system. You know, they weren't destined to spend their time here. And the guy goes, I don't give a shit. I have ratings to uphold. Where are the stars? Like, I know everyone likes what's her name? Kendall. Shit, I can't remember her name. Kendall Gray. I know everyone likes Kendall Gray. But is Kendall Gray star power ready? Is she ready to go? I know she's good. But is she ready to go? This is a decision that baffles me. It absolutely baffles me. And then I think there's a lot of these people who ended up on SmackDown, right? I think I know the Fatal Influence girls ended up on SmackDown. I know Ricky Saints ended up on SmackDown. Blake Monroe probably too. And they're bringing this back down to 2 hours. They're bringing SmackDown back to 2 hours and they're going to go stuff it with a whole bunch of people. Listen, holy fuck. All I'm saying is that the WWE in the past couple of months really worked hard to devalue, really worked hard to devalue NXT in the public space, from being unable to find a landing spot for its NXT PLEs moving forward, despite all of the media partners they have. Not a single one of their media partners wanted to pay for NXT PLEs, to the point that for the foreseeable future, WWE is just not going to do any PLEs. NXT is going to be the Tuesday night warehouse show. That's all it's going to be. It's going to be a warehouse show without any recognizable faces on it. They're going to go through a reconstruction period, something that they probably could have avoided if they had put some thought and care into it, but they didn't care. They just wanted to bring all these people up onto the main roster to make the fans happy and stop talking about how bad WrestleMania was this year. No, now it's much more fun to talk about what kind of shenanigans is Ethan Page going to get into? Joe Hendry, he's going to have concerts. Those are the discussions they want, not, well, WrestleMania was a disappointment. So there you go. Like, this is a Band-Aid solution, but they've destroyed the other territory. They've decimated it. They've done it to themselves. So I would not be surprised, folks, if for the next couple of weeks, we start seeing main roster talent showing up on the CW like WWE used to do before the deal. And then when the deal was still fresh, when they started on CW, you'd have, Becky Lynch show up, and, with Lyra Valkyria, and you have Bayley show up, and then you had the low-key legend and all this bullshit, right? You'd have all of that happening, which would inflate the number. I wouldn't be surprised that if they do that again. People who are on the lower end of the roster that aren't being used on TV, suddenly, whoop, they're going to show up there. You're going to have send Nathan Frazier back to NXT. He's going to come, and Johnny Gargano, He seems fine with that. What are you doing with Johnny Gargano regardless, right? Have them come in, cut a promo. You have them cut the same promo over and over again. This is all the great memories that I have here in NXT. It was such a great place. So it's coming home. I'm home. This is my home. That's what they're going to do. I'm convinced. Wouldn't be surprised in the least, actually, if this is exactly the path that they take. They decimate their own territory, and then they send top stars to sort of quell the tempers of the CW executives. Because I swear to God, there's none of them that can be happy about this. I don't think they can be happy about this. Already, from what I understand, NXT ratings are slowly eroding. If you take off, the Blake Monroe and the Joe Hendry and Ethan Page, if you take all of these people away, what else are you going to do? Gonna send in people from AAA? Maybe? Then again, is that going to draw? Anyway, that's my analysis of this, of this rash of call-ups. That's my analysis. I don't know what they're going to do here. Like, Tatum Paxley is not carrying this brand. You know what I mean? Tatum Paxley is not carrying this brand. The Dark State is not carrying this brand. They don't have anyone. They don't even have... Javon Evans is gone. Everyone's gone. Look, maybe... Hey, you know what? Maybe they'll send back Carmelo Hayes. Maybe they'll send back Carmelo Hayes to go hang out there. We'll keep an eye on this one. As we do with all the stories, quite frankly. The officially announced Sol Ruca is on Raw, signing next week. Okie dokie. Signings for brands. You know how fucking stupid all of this is? Like, these are just like brands. They're not promotions. You don't sign to a brand. Sign to a company. The company is WWE. Who cares where you go? See, this is residuals of the Vince vision that he had, right? That he never was able to fully communicate. That he never was able to fully make people care about. The idea of brand supremacy is something in Vince's brain that exists as something huge that everyone should be fighting for. But for mere mortals like us, we don't care because we don't understand what the stakes are. It's just like, who cares? Who cares about brand supremacy, Vince? Makes no sense. And he'd also bring it up once a year when it was time for Survivor Series. Otherwise, the rest of the year, who gave a shit, right? But to him, it was competing brands, but it was never presented as, but brand, what does that even mean? Competing brands. It does. You all work for the same company. You all have the same budget. Like, it's all fucking nonsense. LA Knight should be sent down. He could. Absolutely. I think he would be a great candidate to do that because apparently WWE fans really like him. He's a popular dude. Send him down there. That's a guy that might, generate a bit of interest to see what's going on. Paul probably thinks he can do a DIY reunion. Good luck to him. I love watching Triple H justify wrestler brand switches with draft picks back in the day. Oh, all a fucking mess, right? Just utterly insulting to every fan that watched that bullshit. I like the idea that CW execs are intensely watching NXT taking notes. No, but at some point someone at some point in the CW is going to raise a flag and be like, wait a second, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is inevitable. It has to. I can't understand. I can't see how they would be pleased with this situation, with this raid of talent, essentially. And they're like, why are we getting the short end of the stick? Where's our Roman Reigns? Where's our CM Punk? Where's our Cody Rhodes? Remember Cody Rhodes? Do y'all remember Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare? No. TKO have shown that they have no problem burning their TV partners and moving on. True. The issue is, at some point, you are going to run out of TV partners. That's all. That's pretty much all there is to it. Well, there you go. Let's hit the outro music and scratch my nose. More, I'm getting a haircut. You can't really tell. But my hair's really. Do you want to see how long my hair is? It's about time there. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. We're gonna get all of this fixed. See how it gets really thick. Like if I kept it shorter here, I'd have like a mullet. I'd have like a mullet here in the back. If I kept it shorter. But tomorrow evening, I'll see what I do. But now it's a little crazy. Summer's coming out. The nice weather's coming. It's just a perfect time to go and get rid of the wintertime hair and move on to something pretty and light for the summer. Yeah, listen, that's about it. I think we're done. For tonight. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you telling me that I did a good job. I appreciate that tremendously. Thank you for taking time off your vacation to come and listen to this. Yes, this is what I'm hiding under the hat. Warren is my manic pixie dream girl. Maybe I could do it. Maybe I could do some kind of weird e-girl act moving forward. Hey, you should have seen my COVID hair. Holy smokes. Not a lot of you were around for the COVID hair era. That was something. Yeah. Thank you everyone for showing up. I'll be back. Well, of course, Wednesday with the Mr. Warren Hayes show proper and about itself. The podcast collecting all of the stream highlights will be here. Wednesday is AEW Dynamite as well. So that means the next day, Thursday, is the Dynamite review. I think people have been enjoying the Dynamite reviews a lot more. For those of you who watch it, have you noticed the changes in how I present? And have you noticed? Have you seen that? Because I've made deliberate changes to how I deliver and put and structure the reviews. And lo and behold, I'm getting more listens, more views. I'd say coincidentally, but I did put some effort into it. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm like, that's awesome. It means that whatever I did, people noticed and it's being well received. So it makes me happy. Intensity pills. I don't take any intensity pills. Dynamite review on Thursday, then we'll be back for a stream later on in the evening. Personally, I appreciate how you take your top off for members only reviews. One of the perks. It's one of the perks. You know, join today and you'll see my frilly things. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you Thursday. I'm gonna end before I say something I regret. Bye-bye.